So for the reference in our handouts at the very beginning, see, we have files directly under that. The third textbook 2024 chapter set for any problem in the text. Today, for example, chapter 4, search, full of this on it says right if you check for exercises in each chapter in the examples, then you can pull up the Excel file. But so with numerical data, having a history, all sorts of options are in front of you. Particular population, when I look at a statistic with numerical value, so and shape. Let's page that, and I said just effects. There's all the, I don't know what it is. This information, this column tells me the defense per 100 vehicles. Looked at its picture, histogram. One has bins that are 20 units wide, has bins that could get bins. If I use 21 with the lowest number being 100, bag or a little like that. So if I round numbers in my 20 points, then I use where's the middle class? So, and I known reference this. So how gives rise to a couple literally gives us 6 most. The first measure of central mean. Not the way I want to use it. Mean here is an average. Parameter, that means I'm talking you. If I'm talking about a statistic, exactly this way. Add them all. X bar. Goal when I do surveys, for example, is close as human to not vary other very much. It turns out there's a really, really nice way to think of an average. Physics in a business. I want you to picture with all of our numbers on it, right? A dot. If we did a dot plot, which I did a histogram. Dot plot, think of that like a fulcrum. It has to have a point somewhere. There's all of these numbers along my dot plot. Where would I put the fulcrum to balance it? I would put at that. At each end. Wherever they of the object. So torque. That if you think how much you want of cap if I all between one to end, so I'll take that on my. We normally indicate spot at the top. So really what this left side is, it's minus x bar, 2 minus r, plus x bar. Let's for our JD. Right? There on the left is the second of the action that was given for my data. That's 100 vehicles. I want the of this column. I want equals A V E R. Type A V E R. Pops up. Then importance cracked on the desk. What do you really need? Who's taken a lap ever? I should. I think one decimal place further. Ways goes. There will be a lot of math person keeping all the decimals. The science people. So. 23, I'll be in the original. What's right there at the right hand summary statistics? 188.57. Hey, wait a minute. Right here, it even says me information for me. And I don't know. Our command equals average and that goes in there. Whether you actually type the data, highlight range. A lot of information is if you went to Canvas after I graded the and you look, you can Canvas see how you did. It'll show. But let's suppose I have a student who has yet, they're still on, he's transferred anymore, but he hasn't actually been dropped out. Here. Not a good. He didn't turn in his homework. His grade is a 0. Book as a 0. The average. A lot, right? there's our average right there. Change this to a boom. Really, Volvos are no defects, or a car that has horrible for 100. To is sensitive, what we change to the data. Career path, and you'll be doing something with money. Company, very little. If what's the company, CEO pulls in $200 million. If CEO pulls in $200 million, the rest of the world only make 1,000, and it's going to be pulled way at one number, right? So if this is, come up with a measure less. As being written in order from smallest to biggest. Last time we looked at the list in order. So what ordered this list? Thing I can do fairly show there's a little on the upper that says sort and filter. Click on that, smallest to largest. That selection. So the smallest 130. Rather than look at averages, let's ask in the middle. Like the structure of a string. I sorted it. So to put the data, largest to smallest, smallest to largest doesn't matter. I need to separate half from per half. In this case, I'm actually talking about the number of, how many on our list in the JD Power data? Top of the very page, it's at the top of the in the middle of 33. 33? Not a home. It's 16.5, which is 16 and above. Number in the middle, 7th number in my list. There are 6 of them here. There are 16 of them here. This is your median. My sorted in number is 130 with a 0. Does this? That's still the lower. The highest number, get 2 million. It doesn't move. This is not a sensitive measure. Change this middle. This is functional as a base. This isn't an actual measure distance. What the lowest number is, still first in the list. I don't care what the highest number is, it's still in the list. And that means as long as 33 things, it's going to have the 7th number as its median. However, that means that there's a problem. This worked out. It had 3. What if I had 34? Well, that would probably want to make it 2 medians, right? But somehow the should be involved. Should have like 1 through 16 and then 8 to 34, right? There's no number there in the middle. What I do is I take these 2 and I add those. Now I tend to even if you have odd number of things, your middle will be one of those things. If you have even number of things, your middle will split. Two are the same. Their average. Here are 3 classes, 5 quizzes. Here are all 3 students, A and M, quiz score. I would like to compute for me 3 things. I'd like the average quiz score for each person. If you don't want to do Excel, you don't have to. You have your phone, grab your calculator from your bag if you brought a calculator. Please remember that during an exam, you'll learn to use a non-internet device. Use your phone as a calculator. So make sure you have a calculator that does not connect, even one regular ordinary, doesn't matter in the slightest. BA series calculator, business courses will require that one. The 35, I think, or the BA2. If you have one of these, go for it. You to count averages when we're talking about medians. Right, but also notice all of these, the numbers are all in order. All three have the same. So in spite of that, we said that this wasn't a sensitive measurement. There's a clear statement that I'm pretty sure T, whatever T is on average, but the median is exactly the same. So what do I have for my averages? What you got? 57? Okay, I heard a couple about 70s. 70. Means I made a typo on my. Okay. The average for Tom was 57. Average Jay, I don't remember what I called Jay's name, was 70, and so was M's. That's just as low as that's high. So we have changes to the edges. Average will change, median might not move at all. Page there's my illustration. The green stuff is the side, the brown stuff is the side. When I have an even number of things, it is between two values. When I have an odd number of things, it is a value. One more measurement. In the very first question about a modal class, what was the peak, the modal class? What did modal class? One of those bars, right? If I was doing a dot, each individual would get its own bar or dots above it. Mode is a single value that's repeated most often. So if I have one that shows up more often, that's a mode. Histograms. I showed a histogram of 2 peaks. What did we call that? could have 2, right? If we have lots of numbers all tied for the stuff, multimodal, I don't like that. Or 2, or we're just going to say too many. Unfortunately, as a measure of center, actually suck. I was teaching a statistics class in a high school. I expect students to have jobs, right? So if I ask what was the salaries in the room, I expect it to be 0. I don't know how many are employed, but I probably the mode salary, annual salary in this room is not high, is it? Is the median salary high? As a measure of center, this is not a very good one. Primarily good for data to inter or ratio data, because having a meaningful 0 or meaningful gaps is frequency. So I use a kind of data set, except non. I could probably use it. What was the most common in the parking lot? So really, when it comes to talking about center, mean, there's no median up there. But average from, right? I was able to put those numbers in a listed order. So here are my numbers in order. And we see 17th one. As soon as I ranked from smallest to largest, I knew which one was in the middle. We had 33. 3 over 2 is 16 and a half. Be above the 16. Taught a formula. Add and divide by 2. 33, I would think 34 over 2 is 17, right? If I had 34 things, 35 over 2 is 17 and a half. It should be between. When it's even, you get a number that ends in a 5. Go to in between. You get a whole number. Can I do the mode here? Well, that's kind of difficult. What if I hadn't put them in order? Let's go back. Not in any part. Back to where it was. That average down there, right? Excel does median. So I can just type the equals median. And then I have to tell it of what? And highlight all the numbers we were using. It does sorting them in the background and going to the middle. We talked about the shape based on the histogram. There is a mode command as MOD, but notice there are 2 versions of that mode command. When I start typing it, list should be the right command. And mode, what the hell are those? Full and single. If I think there might be one, I can tell mode full. And as soon as I hit, it'll say, well, what are you looking at? Oh, I'm looking at this list. Again, I tell it what the data is. And it says, hey, there is only one mode. Even though I asked to find all of them, it found one that was mode. In this case, 166. Yes.
Go to insert big bars.
How are you doing?
Highlighting the data.
Okay.
The insert.
That histogram there?
Yeah.
The problem is that doesn't mean you've chosen, right? The bins on. Easier to histogram in the data settings. Data, go to the data analysis, and then you'll histogram one of these. On the toolbar from the end here, and then it gives me this list of things, and histogram is in there. And when I hit OK on that, you'll notice it asks me for a bin range. So I have bins to use. Say, here, these are the bins I want you to use. All right?
I don't have that analysis tool that you have to download.
Instructions for that are fairly straightforward. They're available right off the internet. Cancel. Wrong button. Cancel. Cancel. There we are. Okay. The mean for our data. Right. We wrote down. The median was 185. 180. Okay. That's bigger than the median, right? The mean is bigger than the median. Look at our histograms again. Average is distance from center, right? That should be just as far. If stuff is over here on the right, then the mean up. Remember, sensitive to the, but the median isn't. The mean is above the median, then our data is to the right. And that's what this picture is. It's long side from that central class. The mean below the median, that affect my data. Both measures of center at the same time, I can actually learn something comparative about my pieces of data. Even if it's a small difference, that tells me it might not be a large one. The difference between the median and the mean, the more skew we get. Questions? In that now, well, there's an entire thing as descriptive statistics. And that's the title of the chapter. So there's a lot built into Excel. That if I do the descriptive statistics piece, I get a whole there. Mean, median, mode were all calculated correctly. If you want to do it once, you can go to the data analysis tool and you can punch up that. Now, there's a lot of other stuff here about those. Question. of an average comes from adding numbers and dividing by the, right? But the way you want to average is additive. Here is a very weird, interesting development in both language and human psychology. In primitive cultures, we have documentation going back of people counting by grouping, not additively, but multiplicatively. Ask what's halfway between 1 and 9? What's halfway between 1 and 9? What do you expect to be half? 4.5, 5, that range? The answer is 3. Because 1 times 3 times 3 is 9. It's the halfway point. The addition halfway point. In visuals and in young children, on lots and lots. Under the age of 3. They actually, and then at some count, and you go 1, 2, 3. All of a sudden, you're stacking additively instead of stacking. Another measure of sentiment that uses called a geometric mean. Adding and dividing, we multiply and take a root. So, when we were to do an arithmetic mean, an average, x1 plus x2, if I would multiply x, I would take the square root. If I had more than 2 things, I would multiply all of them. And then I would take root. Now, this is a very different type of average. It's still mathematically valid, but it's a very different behavior. Why would I do something like this? What possible business situation benefit would this help me with? Well, let's think about growth rates. We're talking about inflation on the news yesterday and today. Politics, we're talking about the inflation rate. Inflation rate changes year versus year, right? So the value of money changes per year. It's multiplied by 4. If those are time series data, the growth rate as a geometric than ours as an idea. Growth rate in the if we had of time series data, like the value of money, how much is a dollar last year, the year before, going, then the growth rate at the last one over the first one to the n minus 1 power. Why am I? Because this number will give you, we grew from 100 from $1 up. So if 1 was the rate, subtract that 100%. There's actually an example in the text. And believe it or not, the Wikipedia entry on growth actually has a really good example. By the way, for numbers This one is always bigger than how many numbers you got. The average larger than the geometric mean. Arithmetic geometric inequality, and the reason it's called geometric comes from looking at lines within semicircles. It goes back 2.5,000. More read as well, and on Friday. Three's homework is due. Sell, you're welcome to give to me. If you're late and I send your homework, I will see you all Friday.
Could you help me